for bed.
But Mama!
I'm not even tired.
No buts.
Can you at least tell us a story for bed?
Maybe one. I've had a very long day at work. One of my students thought it would be funny to test out our new metamaterials on my keys. I've spent all day looking for them and now I'm very tired.
What's a meat material?
A metamaterial is an engineered material that usually has properties that can't be found in nature. In my lab, the metamaterials we make have a negative refractive index. The negative refractive index allows for electromagnetic waves to bend over a frequency of waves, reversing the propagation of the wave, which makes the items appear invisible.
That sounds like super magical powers.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you guys settle into bed, I'll tell you a story about the mysterious invisible metamaterials I use at work. A mama duck waits near a pond with her 3 precious eggs. Suddenly, some peep noises can be heard from inside the eggs. One by one, the ducklings hatch and emerge into the world.
Oh, my young ones! Are you all out? No, it seems like the odd-colored egg is still in there. Goodness, I'm so tired from sitting on these eggs. Oh. Look! The last one is hatching!
At last, the eggshell began to fracture and fall apart, with the little chirps getting louder by the second. But something was off about this particular duckling.
Mama, why didn't anything come out of the egg?
In the meantime, Ugly was startled and surprised, thinking that his siblings were playing a prank on him. He could see himself. Yet why couldn't anyone see him?
What do you mean? I came out of the egg.
Is my brother invisible? It's magic.
Magic isn't real, silly.
Maybe he's coated in some invisible material? Something that prevents us from seeing him? Like an optical metamaterial. I know that the refractive index is a property that dictates how light passes through a medium, so control of this property must be critical to achieving a unique interaction with electromagnetic waves. Most natural materials have positive refractive indices, which does not result in invisibility, so this occurrence must be due to a metamaterial. I remember learning that metamaterials have a strong interaction with the magnetic component of electromagnetic waves, leading to these changes in trajectory. So, he has something that alters light in a way that shields him from view?
Yep, but metamaterials do this in one of 2 ways, either through the cancellation of scattered light or through optical coordinate transformation. Invisibility is achieved by minimizing or even eliminating the scattering of an object. In scattering cancellation, a shell material is chosen to have a specific dipole interaction and low permittivity that counteracts the object itself. This eliminates scattering and makes the object quote-unquote invisible. We can control the permittivity of a material through its unit cells, and by controlling the permittivity, we can control how electromagnetic waves propagate and the sign of the index of refraction, causing the material to appear invisible. But that's silly. He's just a bird. He can't possibly be made of some fancy material that can do this.
You're right, Mama. Materials with exotic properties like a negative refractive index or low permittivity in the wavelength of light that we can see don't naturally exist. That's why there's a second method of designing metamaterials. This is when inbound waves are mapped to a 3-dimensional sphere. This coordinate transformation gives information about what optical properties are needed in what locations around the object in order to bend the light around it, making it invisible. Usually, nano-sized textures are used to customize how a material alters light.
I'm just a duck. I can't see these small things. None of this should be possible, and more importantly, none of this makes sense to me.
Don't worry, we'll figure things out. You'll grow up to be just like the rest of us, but as for now, try to make yourself at home with the others, okay?
At lunch, none of the other ducks could see Ugly, and everyone ignored him.
I guess no one will ever be able to see me. Not even my own family. No one will even notice me in this world because I am invisible. Yet, I can see myself. It just seems like I am in my own region of invisibility.
Later that day, as the sun set, the sky was turning a deep orange, and the duck family was headed back to the nest. As they passed by the pond, one of the ducklings noticed something odd.
Mama, look! I see something moving in the reflection.
Ugly was walking with the others, and it took only a second for their mother to realize.
Is that me?
Oh my goodness, you're a beautiful, visible duck. In the red light of the evening, we can see you. Your feathers must not be able to manipulate this longer wavelength of light. Young ones, you were right. Ugly's feathers are made of an optical metamaterial.
I knew it.
But he can't possibly have feathers made of an exotic material. Would that mean that they're just bending light waves around him in a special way?
But that means that I also shouldn't be invisible to you all if we are close enough.
Sure enough, upon closer inspection, they were able to see Ugly.
It's true, Mama. I can see him.
All of them are surprised that Ugly's feathers act as an optical metamaterials, and some of the only existing ones have been made from raw nanostructures that alter the effective refractive index of a cloaking material. However, nature already creates nanostructures, and though our ugly duckling could not be seen in a particular portion of the visible spectrum, most optical metamaterials have a wavelength limitation, which is why we are all finally able to see him in a different light. The duck's newfound knowledge of metamaterials allowed them to live happily ever after. The end.
No!
Can't you tell us another one? We're not even tired yet.
Yeah, and you've told us how metamaterials work, but you never told us what they're used for.
I'll tell you one more, and then you guys can go back to bed.
Okay, yeah.
Yay.
Have I told you how Jack managed to hide from the giant and keep all the gold? Downtrodden and upset over losing his mother's textbooks for measly magical beans, Jack headed to bed staring out the window where his mother tossed the beans. With the rise of the sun the following day, Jack was shocked to see a giant beanstalk stretching tall into the sky. As Jack ventured up the beanstalk, he noticed a castle in the clouds. Within the castle, a giant finished his meal and called for his bag of gold to count the coins. Counting one by one, the giant eventually fell asleep.
Mother may have been angry about me trading the textbooks for these magical beans, but look at where they've taken me. If I can nab that bag of gold from the giant, we'll be set. Whew. I'm glad the giant is a heavy sleeper. But if other people see the beanstalk, they may steal the treasure it holds. I must find some way to hide it from everyone else.
Realizing that his mother's textbooks may hold the answer as to how to cloak the beanstalk, Jack began to research invisible nanomaterials, specifically the optical properties of metamaterials.
It seems that if I can develop a nanomaterial that restores the phase of reflected light at a specific wavelength, and use metasurfaces to distribute these phase shifts, I may be able to render an object invisible.
In a prototype, incoming light is reflected off a cloak similar to light reflecting off of a mirror, and can make an arbitrary shaped object appear invisible to the human eye.
I think I've figured it out. If I use the sub-wavelength sized elements of a propagating wave, I can tailor the electromagnetic response of the light waves and confine the light, making an invisibility cloak. Now to just scale it large enough to conceal the beanstalk.
But soon the gold was running out. Jack felt the urge to traverse back into the clouds and see what other treasures the giant's castle had to offer.
I must climb back to the castle, but I was almost caught last time. The giant stirred as I left. I wonder if I can make it such that she can't hear me. There must be some application for metamaterials with sound waves to hide me from the giant.
And so Jack went back to his mother's texts. Not quite sure what he was looking for, he asked his mother for help.
Well, I don't quite know why you want to create a sonically invisible device. The nanomaterials behind it are too interesting for me to question you further.
It says here that metamaterials refract waves in the negative direction. What if we harness this property of an ultrasonic metamaterial?
Someone from my research team discovered that because of various point sources stemming from ultrasonic metamaterials, you can render an object invisible to sonar detection. By focusing the propagating sound waves and enabling the evanescent field, whose energy is situated where charges and currents oscillate in a negative index, sonic detection can be avoided. Helmholtz resonators exist in the form of planar networks, and the negative index from the metamaterial can make the lens tunable at different sound frequencies. This must contribute to the invisible nanomaterial behavior.
Jack waited for his mother to head off to work before climbing back up the beanstalk with his lens that made him indistinguishable to solar detection. As Jack was in the castle, stealing the giant's golden egg-laying hen, he jostled the table.
And where is my golden hen? Ah, there! I can see you, little boy, hiding underneath my table.
Jack, scared for his life, ran out of the door and rappelled down the beanstalk.
But how could the giant see me beneath the table? She must see thermal heat signatures. Oh my goodness. I need to make a thermal invisibility cloak to hide my home from the giant.
Using the wonders of Google, Jack discovered that copper and silicon in a metal plate could help him shape the propagation of heat.
I know copper is a good heat conductor, while the silicon tends to be poor at conducting heat. The thin copper plate has annular silicon structures that must allow it to conduct heat at different speeds and in different directions. Since the time needed to pass around an unseen object can be compensated, the material can be rendered thermally invisible. There is no penetration of heat.
Jack had figured out how to make a large metal plate to hide the farm from the giant and live happily ever after.
But wait! If Jack had his invisibility cloak, why don't I have one? I want to be like Jack.
All of Jack's applications of metamaterials are still in initial researching phases, while the invisibility cloak, the sonically invisible lens, and the thermally invisible plate are all possible future applications. They aren't currently available. There are so many current applications for metamaterials: macroscopic cloaking, via thermal and visual invisibility, nanocircuits, broadband circular polarizers, and nanoantennas. It's the metamaterials negative refractive index that allows for all of these unique applications to occur.
But you're so smart. Why can't you make me an invisibility cloak?
I'll look into it at work tomorrow morning. For now, it's time for bed.